What can be said about Batman Begins? The villains are dumb, the cops are dumb.
Arrow on the ground. I lost him.
And Bruce Wayne? Well, he's reckless, dependent, and dumber than everyone else in the movie.
I may not understand any of that.
Sure, it's not this. But even so, it's one of the worst superhero movies ever made. Yeah, this movie came out in 2005, but I've always wanted to articulate all the things wrong with Batman Begins. Now you might be screaming at your screen that I'm an asshole to think this movie sucks because the Joker was fucking awesome. Nope. The movie you're thinking of is The Dark Knight. This is Batman Begins. The one with Liam Neeson, Katie Holmes, and that guy that played Drift in Transformers 4.
Loyalty's but a flower in the wings of fear and temptation.
What the hell are you saying?
Don't worry, you're not alone. No one remembers anything from this piece of shit, let alone that it actually exists.
Are you ready to begin?
Yeah, let's begin, shall we?
Come on.
Batman's origin story has practically been the same since the 1930s. An 8-year-old Bruce Wayne witnesses his parents' murder. He then vows to avenge their death by fighting the criminal element in Gotham and getting rid of the evil that took their lives. He trains his body mentally and physically to prepare for his one-man war on crime, and he will not stop until it's over. In the film Batman Begins, Bruce Wayne's parents are murdered, and then he mopes around like a normal little kid would, and 12 years later, we find Bruce still mopey. He seemingly has no direction and is possibly getting kicked out of Princeton?
You don't like it, eh?
I like it fine. They just don't feel the same way.
We have no idea what he is studying, but we can only assume that he is unfocused and either flunking out or getting into trouble. We know next to nothing about Bruce's life, other than the fact that he's kind of a dick.
This place is a mausoleum. If I have my way, I'll pull the damn thing down brick by brick.
Bruce Wayne's only plan is to get revenge and kill Joe Chill, the man who murdered his parents. Yep, shoot him, in cold blood, in front of dozens of reporters and cameramen, and probably go to prison for premeditated murder. I'm just kidding. He's white and rich, so the courts will be lenient. But, as it turns out, someone else kills Joe Chill, so Bruce misses his opportunity. Womp womp. He then gets a ride home with Rachel Dawes, a childhood friend and shoehorned love interest. Rachel finds out about Bruce's plan to kill Joe Chill and is disappointed. So Bruce Wayne, whose only plan 10 minutes ago was to avenge his parents by murdering their killer in broad daylight, now decides to ditch his identity and hop a cargo ship from Chicago. Wait, what? This movie is clearly set in Chicago, which sits next to a lake, not an ocean. I guess he could get to Milwaukee if he wanted to, but I digress. In the comic books, his motivation to become a crime fighter is the death of his parents. But in the movie, it's because Katie Holmes was disappointed in him? Fuck you! Anyway, Bruce Wayne goes to Ra's al Ghul's ninja school, where a man named Ducard teaches him fighting techniques. Bruce learns all about theatrics and deception, so he can regurgitate the same lines later in the movie.
Theatricality and deception are powerful agents.
Theatricality, deception, are powerful weapons, Alfred.
Bruce is about to graduate ninja school and is told to execute a man who murdered a farmer and took his land. But thanks to his newfound morality and code of justice, Bruce refuses. Instead, Bruce burns down the League's headquarters, subsequently killing the criminal he wouldn't kill, and countless others, including the leader of the League of Shadows, Ra's al Ghul. He saves Ducard though. Because he was like his mentor for 5 minutes? I don't know. Anyway, Bruce calls his butler Alfred to come pick him up and take him back to Gotham after 7 years.
You've been gone 7 years.
Wait, 7 years? We see Bruce steal some fruit, attempt to rob a warehouse, poorly I might add because he is immediately caught, start a prison brawl, and fight some ninjas. Yep, 7 years. So Bruce Wayne reappears in Gotham and heads to Wayne Industries so he can appropriate some tech to use as a crime fighter. Armor, cars,
The tumbler?
belts, material for capes. It's lucky for Bruce that Morgan Freeman happens to have all this stuff on hand, huh? Although it turns out, Bruce is pretty good at ordering from catalogs, spray painting, cutting things with scissors, and crafting little bat weapons. Things that a 10th grade vocational technical student could pull off.
Now tell me, is there any part of this you think you couldn't learn?
So, for his first misadventure, Bruce Wayne, in a ski mask, clumsily breaks into Lieutenant Gordon's office to talk to him and almost dies while trying to get away. He hasn't even become Batman yet. Nice to see that 7 years of training paying off, huh? Next, Carmine Falcone, a mob boss, is at the docks where kilos of illegal drugs are being received. Why the fuck is he here? He's a mob boss, not a fucking supervisor. When Batman starts attacking the criminals unloading the drugs, Detective Flask, a cop on the mob's payroll, tells Falcone that shit is going down and that he should leave. Instead, Falcone does the reasonable thing by getting out of the car and peeking around the corner to see what's happening. He sees Batman beating up his thugs, goes back to the car, and sees that his driver's been knocked out. Wait, how did the driver get knocked out? Wasn't Batman fighting a dozen thugs during that time? Then Batman scares the shit out of Falcone and chains him up to a giant searchlight, which for some reason isn't burning him to death. The cops come and bring Falcone into custody.
We've got Falcone at the scene. Drugs, prints, cargo manifests. This Bat character gave us everything.
Ooh, the vigilante gave the DA everything? He even took fingerprints? Any defense attorney with half a brain would immediately file a motion to throw out this circumstantial, illegally obtained, and possibly fabricated evidence. Falcone would have been released claiming that a madman kidnapped him and chained him up to a searchlight for no reason. The police, with no evidence that he had anything to do with the drugs found at the scene, would have sent him on his way. If there was a legitimate paper trail, couldn't Batman have just taken pictures and sent evidence back to Gordon and the DA so that a proper arrest could be made? Batman could have called Gordon and had him come down to the crime scene and catch everyone in the act. It's not like Batman is going to be able to testify in court. Anyway, while staking out a drug drop-off point, Batman forgets his ninja school stealth training and is gassed by the Scarecrow with a fear toxin and set on fire. He barely escapes and is eventually rescued by Alfred. Morgan Freeman hears of his condition and prepares an antidote, and Bruce is fine. Whew. And with that, we arrive at the moment that defines the rest of the film. We find out how stupid Bruce Wayne is in 3, 2, 1.
I analyzed your blood, isolating the receptor compounds in the protein-based catalyst.
I mean, I understand any of that.
Batman is a scientist! Well, not in this piece of crap, but he is in the comics. Hell, even Homer Simpson knows this.
There's a man here who thinks he can help you.
Batman?
No, he's a scientist.
Batman's a scientist.
It's not Batman.
Frank Miller, who has written some of the more definitive Batman comics, described him as being so brilliant he might have revolutionized the field of physics. But this is Batman Begins, where Bruce Wayne is a college dropout who doesn't seem to have a basic science background. Seriously, Bruce, what the fuck are you trying to make? Having Morgan Freeman around is great, because it basically removes the need for Batman to have a brain so he can spend more time punching people. Fuck, I hate this movie. And like every superhero movie, there has to be an annoying love interest, and Batman Begins is no exception. In fact, Katie Holmes might be the most annoying of them all.
Okay.
We first meet Katie Holmes, or Rachel Dawes, when she meets Bruce at his home to drive him to court for some reason. So it's established that she owns a car. Women drivers, am I right? But when it's clear that she may be in danger, she takes the subway home so that the movie has a reason for Batman to come to her rescue. Then later, Rachel comes to visit Bruce for his birthday and gets a phone call about Falcone being transferred from jail to Arkham Asylum by Dr. Jonathan Crane, who is secretly the Scarecrow.
You're going to Arkham now. It's in the Narrows, Rachel.
So Bruce decides to suit up and follow Rachel simply because she's going to a bad part of town. Then, for no reason whatsoever, the Scarecrow exposes Rachel to the League of Shadows' scheme of poisoning the water supply and gasses her. So Batman comes to the rescue and saves Rachel for the second time in the movie. Then the cops come and Gordon runs in to talk to Batman, who tells him about the water being tainted.
What was he planning? I don't know.
What else do you need to know? They're contaminating the water. It should be pointed out that Batman had no idea that the water was being tainted at all until he stumbled upon it while he was following Rachel. Even so, he still has no idea what they're planning.
I don't know.
Maybe you would know if you weren't so incompetent. After he beat up the thugs in the basement, he overpowers the Scarecrow and says,
Taste of your own medicine, Doctor.
He literally shoots first and asks questions later.
What have you been doing here?
So the Scarecrow is not in any shape to talk to Batman, but since he's so out of it, he won't be able to be interrogated by the police either. Thank you so much for your help, Batman. It's a little curious that Dr. Crane wouldn't have an antidote on hand in case there was an accident. Or why wouldn't he take something that would inoculate himself from the effects? Maybe he was overconfident that he would never get gassed. All I know is that everyone in this movie makes poor choices, and it's frustrating. So cops surround the building and Batman tells Gordon that Rachel was gassed by the Scarecrow.
I need to get her the antidote before the damage becomes permanent.
How long does she have?
Not long.
Not long? Permanent? Where is this coming from?
How long was I out?
2 days. I called Mr. Fox when your condition worsened after the first day.
Bruce went at least an entire 24 hours before he was given an antidote, and he's fine. Now, for those of you who paid attention to the movie, you would know that Rachel was exposed to a more concentrated form of the toxin.
She hasn't got long. I gave her a concentrated dose. The mind can only take so much.
So maybe Katie would be affected in the long term? Wrong. Because the Scarecrow was hit with the same exact concentrated mixture and sat in Arkham for hours without an antidote, and he's fine. Suddenly, there's a ticking clock to get Rachel back to the Batcave so he can get her the antidote. But thank goodness he thinks that, because it sets up the movie's car chase sequence. So Batman gets in a tank with Rachel and runs over a cop car for some reason. Women drivers, am I right? Lieutenant Gordon's reaction?
I gotta get me one of those.
A regular person would be running towards the car to help the cops, or at least yell, "Dude, what the fuck, was that necessary?" Why the hell did Batman run over the car? It's not like he was blocked in. But seriously, if you freeze frame it, Batman crushed those cops. Well, at least the cops now have a good reason to chase him: destruction of police property and reckless endangerment. But he's white and rich, so he'll do like 5 days of community service. Cut to Batman barreling down the interstate. He shuts his lights off, and suddenly he has disappeared. Huzzah!
Arrow on the ground. I lost him. We've lost visual.
And the guy in the chopper doesn't think to move the floodlight back just a little bit.
We'll loop back to check the frontage road.
No, seriously, this actually happens in the movie. Then Batman turns the lights back on for some reason, and then continues to leave a trail for investigators to find his location by running over everything in his path. So Bruce gives Rachel the antidote and heads upstairs to his birthday party, where he finds Morgan Freeman and tells him about the poisoned water.
Somebody's planning to disperse the toxin using the water supply.
Water supply won't help you disperse an inhalant, unless you have a microwave emitter powerful enough to vaporize all the water in the mains.
As it turns out, a Wayne Industries microwave emitter that's powerful enough just happened to be stolen in transit. What are the odds?
A microwave emitter like the one Wayne Enterprises just misplaced.
I just said that!
Bruce, there's somebody here
No,
you
Sister
simply
Lynn.
must meet. Now, am I pronouncing this right? Mr. Raz Al Ghul?
No, you aren't, lady. It's Raish.
Allow me to introduce myself. I am he who is called Raish Al Ghul.
But that's okay, because not even the guy playing him pronounces it properly. Oh yeah, Descartes is the real Ra's al Ghul. What a great twist. But first things first, you're telling me that this woman was having a lovely conversation with this ninja? In reality, it's improbable that these two could have any kind of conversation, let alone actually start one. And then she just stands there, like a dumbass, and doesn't even react. Just get out of the shot, lady. And of course, in typical movie cliche fashion, Roz tells Bruce of his entire plan, starts monologuing, and sets Wayne Manor on fire. And then after a random wooden beam falls on Bruce, Roz doesn't even stick around to make sure that Bruce Wayne actually dies. So it turns out that Roz is just as stupid as Batman. In the time he took playing head games at Bruce's party, he could have carried out his plan to poison the city. He could have also burned Bruce's house down without warning him that he was going to do it. He's just wasting time. So Roz leaves a couple of guards behind to make sure that no one comes out or something, and Alfred knocks one of them out with a golf club and ends up saving Bruce for the second time in the movie. Even though 10 minutes prior he was about to drive Rachel back to her apartment. So it only took 10 minutes to drive her home, put her in bed, and drive back to a burning Wayne Manor? Bullshit. They both escape to the Batcave, and Batman is off to save the city even though he has no idea where Roz is going to be. So the League of Shadows' plan is to taint Gotham City's water supply with a fear-inducing hallucinogenic toxin. Then, with this microwave emitter, drive a train through Gotham and evaporate the water supply along its path, making the toxin airborne. Everyone will breathe the toxin in, and this will cause mass hysteria and violence that will destroy Gotham. So anyway, this guy puts a dipstick into the entrance of where the toxin was poured and tells Gordon,
Gotham's entire water supply is laced with it.
How do you know that? You put the dipstick where the flow of water is fresh and hasn't been tainted yet. You appear to be some kind of lab technician, but you don't know how science works. Not to mention that I don't think that this is how pipes work either. Shouldn't the water be spraying all over the place? Anyway, let's talk about the microwave emitter. Its main purpose is to vaporize water, but keep in mind that 60 to 75% of the human body consists of water. So the emitter would not only affect Gotham's water supply, but it would also kill everyone in its path. Okay, suspension of disbelief, I know. With that said, it's apparent that the microwave emitter is dangerous and needs to be stopped. That's what Batman tells Gordon after jumping over the bridge into the Narrows, and happens to land right next to him.
If they hit the whole city with toxin, there's nothing to stop Gotham tearing itself apart from mass panic.
How are they gonna do that?
They'll be using the train. The monorail follows the water mains to the central hub beneath Wayne Tower. If they get their machine into Wayne Station, it'll cause a chain reaction that'll vaporize the entire city's water supply.
Wait, what? Never mind.
I'm gonna stop him from loading that train.
Pop quiz, hotshot. How will Batman stop the train? A, tell Gordon to cut the power to the train. B, get back into Tumbler and destroy a section of the track so the train can't move? Sure, alright. Or C, drive where the emitter is being loaded and destroy it. Oh, okay. The answer? Batman gets back into Tumbler and stops the train. Oh wait, no he doesn't.
Can you drive stick?
Instead of simply telling Gordon to shut down the power to the train tracks, he gives Gordon the keys to a military-grade vehicle and assumes he will be able to stop the train with it. Hell, it takes him 5 minutes to figure out how to open the car door. Now remember, it's super important for Batman to stop the train from being loaded. But before that happens, he goes out of his way and saves Rachel for the 3rd time. Really? They should have just called this movie Rachel Dawes' Personal Bodyguard. Now this would have been a meaningful scene if Rachel told Batman some useful information, like where the microwave emitter was being loaded. She was there just a few minutes ago. She was so close that I'm surprised that Roz didn't say something like, "Put the girl on the train, she's seen too much," so that Batman would have had to rescue her for a 4th time. I'm sure they thought about it though. So Rachel knows where the emitter is being loaded, but she neglects to tell Batman anything. I guess it was more important than asking who he was because...
You could die.
Way to instill confidence, Rachel. Well, not that this Batman deserves any.
At least tell me your name.
Take your time, Bruce.
It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me.
What you need to do is stop the train from being loaded, you fuck! Batman freaks out when one person is having a bad acid trip, but when it's millions of lives in the balance, he just dawdles like a tourist taking in the scenery. Then, after what I estimate is roughly 13 minutes, Batman finally takes off for the train. And for some reason, everyone affected by the toxin is looking up in the air? Right. And when he finally gets to the train, he just fucking stands there. He doesn't fling a batarang at the hoist, or throw an explosive at the emitter. He doesn't even throw a punch. He just fucking lands in front of Roz and trades some banter with him.
Well, you took my advice about theatricality a bit literally.
It ends here.
Then he brags to Roz about his fighting skills.
I can't beat 2 of your pawns.
As you wish.
Then Roz leaves and more ninjas appear. It's not that Roz outwitted him. Batman is just that fucking useless. That's right. Batman just lets Roz load the emitter onto the train. Ugh. Then the people in the Narrows suddenly turn into zombies and start attacking Batman. 2 minutes ago, they were scared shitless. Now they're fighting him? I thought this was a fear-inducing toxin. Make up your fucking mind, movie. Then Batman escapes using his grappling gun and swings from the speeding train for an impossible amount of time. When Batman finally enters the train, he jumps on top of the microwave emitter. He just fucking sits there staring at Roz. He doesn't attempt to disable it or blow it up. He just fucking sits there waiting for Roz to stop talking. Then they fight for a while. And then when Roz tells Batman that he can't stop the train, Batman replies,
"Consider anything about stopping it."
What? And in a very believable fashion, Gordon is able to get ahead of the train, figures out how to use a complicated weapon system, and blows up a column that destroys the train track. Then Batman gets the upper hand, and then he says the dumbest thing ever.
I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you.
Which means that Batman is going to kill Roz. Then Batman breaks a window for some reason, and then uses an explosive that he should have used to destroy the emitter 20 minutes ago. Rest in peace, Ra's al Ghul. How the movie ends is just so insulting that I can't even process it properly, but I'll try. Thousands of people are trapped in the Narrows and going insane because the toxin was released.
The Narrows is lost.
And it's not only the Narrows, it's pretty fucking clear that the toxin was released along the train's path. So by that logic, other parts of Gotham City have also been affected, right? Not to mention there's a thing that exists called wind. But instead, the movie implies that Batman's a hero by mentioning that he made the front page of the newspaper. Huh? He didn't do anything to stop the League of Shadows plan, he didn't stop the train, he didn't destroy the emitter in time. So what's the front page story? That Batman fought a guy and lent his car to a cop? Batman didn't save the city. In fact, the city was totally fucked because of Batman's incompetence. Ooh, thank you so much for your help, Batman. Batman Begins, 2.7 out of 10.